15.
Hello. How do you follow that? Do you know what I mean? I'm just going to lower the tone for a little bit, and then we're going to have a break and have a beer and a wee and stuff like that. So most things in my adult life started with a drink, but this one started with an email. This is an email I got from Candida Lycett Green, who is John Betjeman's daughter. I mean, she's not just John Betjeman's daughter; she's also a great writer and historian. But you know, for the purposes of this email, she's John Betjeman's daughter, and she wrote to me and to this group IL16 is a poetry collective that I was part of, and she wrote this: "Dear IL16, I've seen you at the Lit Fest and thought you were brilliant. I want a poetry presence at one of my dad, John Betjeman's centenary gigs, the Cornish Party. I wonder how much you cost and how long you last. We have Harry Enfield, Martin Clunes, John Nettles, Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen and British Sea Power. I wonder if you could do a tribute. It was a great, strange guest list. I wonder if you could do a tribute in some way to my dad, John Betjeman. Best wishes, Candida Lycett Green." So this was very exciting because John Betjeman was a real hero to me now, and particularly back then I was reading a lot of Betjeman. It was very exciting to get an email from his daughter asking us to be part of his centenary celebrations. This was back in 2006. And so I shared the email with the rest of the guys in my group. There was four of us. There's a guy called Joel, a guy called Ross, and a guy called Chris. And we were kind of like a band, a poetry band. If you can imagine a band with four lead singers, if you can imagine what kind of awful sort of egotistical tour bus that would be, that was us. Except the tour bus was my Ford Escort. And the after-show parties were travel lodges. It was a very sort of unglamorous kind of existence. And we'd been touring around with a show called Poetry Boy Band, which was meant to be a joke, but the joke kind of turned against us. And, you know, we got on well. We were mates, but there was a lot of tensions in the group. And we thought, what could we do to celebrate John Betjeman's life? And we were I was interested to read that he did a lot of tours. He actually, in the employ of Shell, actually made lots of travel guides, and he was very, you know, what I love about Betjeman is he's great at finding the magic in the everyday and those sort of fairly dull situations. He can find something beautiful and poetic. So we thought we'd try and do the same. We thought, well, where can we go? Where can we tour to find the magic in the everyday? And we decided on service stations, motorway service stations. These, to our mind, were the least poetic, most dull, awful, sort of moribund, grey, disgusting, consumerist shitholes that we could think of. And we thought if we can write poetry about those, then we'll be doing good things. And it sort of fit with Betjeman's idea of, you know, of the modern world, modernity taking over to the point of just vileness. So we gave ourselves 3 rules: that we would tour motorway service stations for a week. We would not go into any towns or cities, so we'd sleep by the road. We'd eat only what we found in motorway service stations. And I mean, there was originally some plans that we would go naked and we would buy clothes from motorway service stations, entirely live, but we realised that would be horrible, so we brought our own clothes. But we set off on this tour in July 2006, and our first stop was South Mims, which, to my mind, is the daddy of all motorway service stations, being the most bland. This is a poem that I wrote there called "It's Mims O'Clock," which is a weak pun on the Pimm's advert, I'll admit, but it was late, I was tired. It goes like this. "All right, Dad, picture the scene. It's 30 degrees and Grandma's is still 3 hours off. Kids kicking up a fuss in the back. The missus has got the camel. There's crisps all over the upholstery. Someone's pissed themselves. There's a bongo going everywhere and you're shouting, 'Sharon, you donut, you flapjack, you hobnob, you Jaffa cake, you Viscount, you Viennese whirl, shut those kids up. I'm trying to negotiate the roadworks at Junction 25, and why do we have to listen to Steve Wright in the afternoon? I swear, if he plays one more Bee Gees record, I'm going to shove Massachusetts right up its jacksie.' And then you see it, like an oasis, like a huge, beige-bricked, neon-lit, branded oasis, an oasis that sells burgers and petrol and porcelain figurines, a watering hole, a roadside tavern, a plentiful dry dock, and you're thinking 3 of them, 1 of me. It must be Mims o'clock. So hello, moto, welcome break. Come rest your right foot without risking death. Drink a vat of coffee, it's a piece of cake. Gulp a lungful of that gasoline breath. Unstick your crotch from the seat of your jeans. Come beat out a rhythm and bone like white latrines. Come withdraw your money from our cash machines. We'll charge $1.75. Doesn't it feel great to be alive? Watching obese preteens tuck into a family feast, each like happy shoppers with the contrast of a cloudless sky. This is Mims o'clock. Come swing your cock with truckers, travelling salesmen, National Express patrons and holiday makers wearing sandals and socks. Green light indicates minutes to next inspection. Red light means it smells of piss. Yes, kiss me quick and squeeze me quicker. The petrol forecourt just got slicker. It's Milton Keynes, but even shitter. This is Mims o'clock. 2 hours free parking, 2 hours to stop. Want to empty bladdered around our shops. Run your hands along the rows of glossy packs and fizzy pop. Press your sunburnt cheeks against our bottled water. Like star-shaped on the bonnet of someone else's Porsche. Fall in love in KFC with someone else's teenage daughter. This is Mims o'clock. And as the sun sets over the M4 in the western sky, like a glint of 9 lives wasted in a faded cat's eye, the London orbital is a clock face with its minute hand broke. There's no details in the endless hours it evokes. Thank you. Thank you for your kind applause. I mean, I should point out, you're really right, you should always clap poets. Poets are like fairies. If you don't clap, we die, okay? So, keeping me alive. It's a matter of life and death. So we realised we got to South Mims, and we went beyond that, and we drove up the A1 to Scotch Corner, and we sort of stopped off there, and we slept in the car park there, and then we suddenly thought, we hadn't really worked out what we were going to do. We spent so long working out whether we were actually going to buy our clothes from motorway service stations. We hadn't stopped to think about how we'd actually start to try and write this show. I mean, what would we do? Would we stay there for a couple of hours at a time, see if we got inspiration, people watch, that sort of thing, or was it just get through it as quickly as possible, go home and then write all the other poems? And there was a real sort of split in the group. Like Chris and I were all up for doing it gonzo. We were the guys who wanted to buy our clothes in motorway service stations. Ross was he's not uncomfortable at the best of times. He's an unlucky, unfortunate sort of guy, Ross. But and Joel just properly turns, psycho on us, basically. He just really didn't want to be there. He didn't see why we couldn't just fake it. We couldn't just pretend. Do you know what I mean? And I blame Jack Kerouac for this. I mean, I hate Jack Kerouac. Oh, we drove here, then we drove there, and then we had an epiphany again. We went to Mexico, and there were some flies. Jack Kerouac has spawned this generation of nauseating adolescents, hasn't he? I mean, you've read On the Road, I take it. These kids who just want to go to India to find themselves. If you've lost yourself, retrace your steps, yeah? You probably dropped out of your own bag on the way back from college. If you spent your life in and around the Surbiton area, your soul is unlikely to turn up in Goa, isn't it? I mean, But I think there's a little bit of Jack Kerouac, 30 miles out of Scotch Corner, we realised we'd forgotten the Red Bull. It was very dark. We were really starting to fall out. It was horrible. And we drove across. So we left the motorway. We drove across. I think it's the A66 on one of them roads across the Pennons like that. And we ended up at T-Bay. And T-Bay is the holy grail of motorway service stations. It has a farm shop. It pretends to be, it's nice. It's not nice. It's a motorway service station. It gives this sort of hint of it being natural and nice. It's like putting makeup on a corpse. You can't. So I wrote this poem, and this is how we were feeling on the third day. It was a Sunday, and I'd kind of forgotten, hence the title of this. And today I forgot it was Sunday. And today I forgot it was Sunday, with the Cumbrian hills in the background, like Tipp-Ex that spilled on a diary, the executive putting his hat down, a momentary death of the ego by modernity's roadside gazebo. And today I forgot it was Sunday, but it's not a release from a duty placed on me by myself or my life. It's just I'm denied a faint sort of beauty, surrounded by rappers and ashtrays and folk for whom the white of the weak bleeds into its yolk. And today I forgot it was Sunday because the day wasn't wearing its best. No crackling or home base or dad's scheduled nap, no grandstand, ski Sunday or pre-ashes test. Radio Essex and mum's tinny speakers replaced by the motorway's everyday features. Yet today I forgot it was Sunday. I was expecting the croissants in bed, style-sectioned, hazy, hungover mornings, drowning in evenings weighed down with the lead of Hugh Scully's antique and steadfastly tone, and the knowledge that no one will call on the phone. And today I forgot it was Sunday, because the pattern of things can get lost. The taste of this dismal ginster's breakfast is masked only by the salt of the cost, and the $9.99 family meal deal's use of family in its pitch doesn't feel real, because I didn't recognise Sunday, dressed down in a standard salesman suit, colder than toner at absolute Xerox, flavouring water and shrink-wrapping fruit until the good of the day feels like it's store-bought, as false as the rainbow on the petrol-soaked forecourt. Okay, so... No, I have to... Yeah, you have to clap one. It's more of a page poem. You can tell if something's a page poem, because at the end you don't feel like clapping. You just go, oh, okay. Buy the book. You don't have to buy the book, no pressure. Now, so day 2, day 3 went by, and you know, what we thought was a hilarious experiment really was starting to wear us down, and we were all starting to fall out quite badly. I remember we had to drop Chris off at a service. His grandma died, and which was unfortunate, but it did kind of ruin the experiment slightly because he had to go off to a funeral, then come back, and so it kind of ruined it. It was ruined after that. I mean, obviously, you know, it's not his fault or indeed her fault, but you know, it still ruined it. And we drove down the M50 and we stayed at a little just like beside the road, and it was awful. And so eventually we thought, well, fuck it, let's just fuck the motorway service stations. Let's go down to Trebetherick, which is where John Betjeman was buried. It's one of his favourite places to go there on holiday quite a lot. And we went to see his grave, which was, I know it sounds corny now, but bear in mind we'd just been at motorway service stations for 4 days, and we did nothing but eat gangsters' pasties and, you know, and have to like rate our toilet experience. And have you ever seen that? They go, are you happy with your toilet experience? You have to press a little button. Just always press no, fuck them up, that's what I say, yeah, rebel. So we drove down to Trebetherick, and it was just this total change, and we went to the beach. And I'm going to finish on this. Incidentally, we didn't break up as a group. We just about stayed together. When we got to do the performance of this show, we were relegated to right last in the programme, which sounds like it's headlining, but it wasn't headlining because everyone had been there for the charity auction with Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen and Harry Enfield for like 4 hours, and they were all old. They were all members of the Padstow Lifeboat Association. That's what they wanted to see. They wanted to have this charity raffle, and then we went on stage with that avant-garde poetry show at 11 o'clock, and this audience of 600 people in dinner jackets got up and left one by one, slowly over an hour, this thing that we'd almost died for, this show, and it was horrible. And at the end, there was just 30 people at the front, and we just thought we just failed so awfully. And we went, but then they jumped to their feet and applauded us and just called for an encore. And we went backstage, and Candlelight at Green, she grabbed me and she kissed me. She said, oh, my father would have been so proud if he could have seen that. And honestly, that was one of those moments. It was amazing. And so it did end positively, and I want to sort of finish with the poem that I wrote on the beach at Trebetherick, which I think probably saved us. This is for John Betjeman. How far we drove, how long we drove, we cleared the motorways. We left the roadside Pirates Cove and found a sun-snogged day with seaside golf and blinding sands, a leisure park without the brands. We parked our car and walked the path, our backs against the sea, and trekked against the sun that basked our mutant family, away from the cries of girls and boys, the summer beach's juicy noise. Over gravel and onto grass, steadily we strolled up across the course and past the easy 7th hole, with Enodox Church surveying us, our trainers kicking up the dust. In the churchyard, directly right, no red carpet approach. There he was, and just like in life, at an angle, on a slope, the poet's grave, subtle, ornate, no epitaph, just names and dates. So back across the jolly links, our mongrel-footed amble, humble slightly, calves half pink, our swooshes scooped up brambles, towards the ocean's chilly reach, to make discussion on the beach. Thank you.